Arav had always been a lover of stories, but he never imagined he would become a part of one. It all started in an old bookstore tucked away in the quieter streets of Bangalore. Arav had stumbled upon it on a rainy afternoon, lured in by the smell of books and the promise of warmth. The wooden shelves stretched high, filled with stories waiting to be read, and the scent of old pages mixed with the faint aroma of coffee from a corner cafe. That was where he first saw her. She was standing by the classics section, absent-mindedly flipping through a tattered copy of Pride and Prejudice. She had an air of quiet elegance, long, wavy hair cascading over her shoulders, glasses perched on her nose, completely lost in the world of words. Arav had never believed in love at first sight, but in that moment, he understood why poets wrote about it. Trying to find an excuse to talk to her, he walked over and reached for a book, only to knock down an entire row in the process. The loud thud echoed through the quiet bookstore, making the girl turn her head. She stared at him for a moment before bursting into laughter. Arav, mortified, tried to collect the books quickly. Great. Just my luck. First time in this store, and I ruin its peace. She crouched down to help him. Well, at least now I know you're not a book thief, she teased, her eyes twinkling. I'm Arav, he said, stacking the books. Kiara, she replied, handing him Wuthering Heights. You sure you belong in a bookstore? Absolutely, he said, dusting off the book. I just have a unique way of rearranging shelves. She smiled, and he knew at that moment, he wanted to see that smile again. Arav started visiting the bookstore every week, hoping to run into Kiara. Sometimes, he would find her lost in a novel. Other times, she would be chatting with the old bookstore owner, Mr. Mohta, who adored her like a granddaughter. One day, Arav finally worked up the courage to ask, "Do you ever read anything other than romance novels?" Kiara smirked. "Do you ever stop pretending you don't?" That was how it began, a series of book exchanges and playful debates over coffee. She made him read Pride and Prejudice, and in return, he made her read The Alchemist. She argued about love and destiny, while he countered with logic and realism. "Love isn't just about grand gestures, Arav," she said one evening, sitting by the cafe window as rain drizzled outside. "Sometimes, it's in the small things, the way someone remembers how you like your coffee, or how they save you the last piece of chocolate without saying a word." Arav, who had never been a romantic, found himself storing every word she said in the quiet corners of his mind. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Their friendship blurred into something more, something unspoken yet undeniable. One evening, as they browsed through the bookstore, Arav pulled out an old poetry book. "If you were a poem, which one would you be?" he asked, his voice softer than usual. Kiara hesitated, then whispered, "Somewhere I have never traveled, gladly beyond." Arav, unfamiliar with the poem, looked it up that night. The words hit him like a storm. "I do not know what it is about you that closes and opens. Only something in me understands. The voice of your eyes is deeper than all roses." That was the night he knew he was in love with her. But love stories aren't always smooth. One day, Kiara didn't show up at the bookstore. Or the next day. Or the one after that. Arav tried calling her, but her number was unreachable. The bookstore felt empty without her laughter, the air heavy with silence. Mr. Mohta, noticing his restlessness, sighed and handed him an envelope. "She left this for you." Arav's hands trembled as he unfolded the letter. "Arav, I don't know how to say this, so I'll write it, like we always do. I never told you, But my family is moving back to Delhi. It wasn't supposed to happen this soon, but life has a way of changing our plans. I didn't want to say goodbye in person because I know you'd try to convince me to stay. And I don't think I'd be able to say no. But I also know we are more than just a story in a bookstore. If we are meant to meet again, we will. Maybe in another city, another bookstore, another lifetime. Until then, keep reading, keep dreaming, and know that you were the best chapter of my life. Kiara. Arav sat there for hours, reading and rereading the letter, as the bookstore whispered stories around him. Years passed. Arav moved to Delhi for work, but he never stopped thinking about her. The city was big, the chances slim, but sometimes, destiny plays its own games. One evening, lost in the streets of Konoita Place, he found himself drawn to a small bookstore. It reminded him of the one in Bangalore. Wooden shelves, the scent of coffee, the warmth of stories. And there, standing by the classics section, flipping through a tattered copy of Pride and Prejudice, was Kiara. She looked up, and for a moment, time stood still. Then, she smiled. You are still knocking down bookshelves, or have you improved? Arav grinned, his heart pounding. Still rearranging them in my own way. And just like that, their story began again, because some love stories never truly end.